I was sitting in my penthouse apartment, watching the sunset paint the Willamette River in shades of orange and gold. 2 years after my divorce life had finally found its rhythm. My career as an architect was thriving, and Amanda, my girlfriend of 6 months, was moving in next week. Everything felt right. Then my phone rang and I saw the name I had not seen in 2 years, Stephanie, my ex-wife. The woman who had shattered my world. My finger hovered over the screen. Why was she calling now, after all this silence? Before we dive into what happens when your past tries to rewrite your future, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe, because this story will show you exactly why moving forward is the only real option. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. Stephanie and I got married when I was 27. We had dated for 3 years before that, and I thought I knew her completely. We bought a small house in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. I worked as an architect at a small firm downtown, and Stephanie had a job in marketing. Those first 2 years felt like what marriage should be. We would cook dinner together on weeknights, spend Saturdays hiking in Forest Park, and plan our future during lazy Sunday mornings over coffee. Then, things started changing. Stephanie got promoted to marketing director at her company. Suddenly, she was working 12-hour days, coming home past 9 in the evening, too exhausted to talk. I tried to be supportive. I would make dinner and keep it warm for her wait up so we could spend at least a few minutes together. But she started eating at her desk, telling me not to wait up. The space between us grew wider each week. I told myself it was just a phase. New job, new responsibilities. She would settle into the role, and things would go back to normal. But 6 months passed, then 8, then 10. We barely spoke anymore. When we did, it was about bills, or whose turn it was to take out the trash. The intimacy we once had evaporated, like morning fog. One Thursday night, I came home early from work. I had finished a project ahead of schedule, and wanted to surprise Stephanie with her favorite Thai takeout. The house was empty. Her car was not in the driveway, which was not unusual, but her phone was on the kitchen counter. She must have forgotten it in her rush that morning. Then it buzzed. A text message lit up the screen. I was not the type to snoop, but the preview was right there. Cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Last night was amazing. The sender, Derek. My stomach dropped. My hand started shaking. I picked up the phone and opened it. She had never changed her passcode. The messages went back months. 6 months to be exact. Detailed messages. Plans to meet. Words that should have been meant for me. When Stephanie came home at 10 that night, I was sitting at the kitchen table with her phone in front of me. She saw my face and knew immediately. No shock, no panic, just resignation. How long, I asked. My voice sounded strange, like it belonged to someone else. 6 months, she said quietly. Who is Derek? Someone from work. A colleague. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. A colleague. Right. She sat down across from me, not reaching for her phone. Jeffrey, I did not plan for this to happen. But it did happen. For half a year, you have been lying to me every single day. I know. Do you love him? She looked away. I feel alive with him. He makes me feel like I matter. And I do not. You are safe, comfortable, predictable. She said these words like they were crimes. I need more than that. I need someone who challenges me, who pushes me to be better. I stared at her. This woman I had loved for 6 years. This woman I had built a life with. So I am too boring for you. Too stable, too loyal. I want a divorce, she said. Just like that. No apology, no tears, no request to work on it. She wanted out, and she wanted me to know it was my fault for being exactly what I thought a husband should be. The divorce took 4 months to finalize. 4 months of lawyers and paperwork, and dividing up everything we had built together. She got the house because she could afford the mortgage on her own. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment on the east side of town. It was small and dark and smelled like the previous tenant's cat, but it was all I could afford after splitting our savings. The first month was the worst. I could not sleep. Food tasted like cardboard. I lost over 15 pounds because I forgot to eat most days. I would lie awake at 3 in the morning, replaying every moment of our marriage, trying to figure out where I had failed. What could I have done differently? Why was I not enough? My best friend Marcus, who worked with me at the firm, noticed I was falling apart. He started showing up at my apartment every morning at 6, forcing me to go to the gym with him. At first I resented it. I wanted to be left alone with my misery. But Marcus would not take no for an answer. You are going to get through this, he told me one morning as I struggled through a set of push-ups. But you cannot do it by sitting in that apartment feeling sorry for yourself. He was right, though. I hated admitting it. Exercise became my therapy. When I was lifting weights or running on the treadmill, I could not think about Stephanie or Derek or the life I had lost. I could only focus on the next rep, the next mile, the next breath. 3 months after the divorce was final, I made a decision. I was going to rebuild. Not just survive, but actually rebuild. I started going to the gym 5 days a week. I picked up running again, something I had loved in college but abandoned during my marriage. Every morning I would run 3 miles along the waterfront before work. The city looked different at sunrise. Quieter. More hopeful. I also started seeing a therapist. Dr. Helen Martinez had an office downtown and Marcus had recommended her. At first I felt awkward talking to a stranger about my failed marriage. But Dr. Martinez had a way of asking questions that made me see things differently. You keep saying you failed, she said during our 3rd session. But what if the problem was not you? What if you were just with the wrong person? That idea had never occurred to me. I had spent months assuming I was defective somehow. Too boring, too stable, not exciting enough. Dr. Martinez helped me understand that those qualities were not weaknesses. They were strengths. Stephanie had not left because I was inadequate. She left because she wanted something different, and that was her choice to make. It did not mean there was something wrong with me. Slowly I started believing it. My body changed from the gym. I put on muscle, lost the weight in my face that stress had added. But more than that, my mind changed. I stopped waking up, thinking about Stephanie. I stopped checking her social media to see if she was happy with Derek. I started focusing on my own life, my own goals, my own happiness. 1 year after the divorce, I decided to make a career change. I had been at the same small architecture firm for 7 years, and while I liked my coworkers, I knew I was capable of more. I applied to a larger firm downtown, one that handled major commercial projects. To my surprise, they offered me a position as a project architect, with a significant raise. My first major project was designing a luxury condominium complex near the Pearl District. It was exactly the kind of challenge I had been craving. The client was demanding, the timeline was tight, and the budget was huge. I threw myself into the work, spending late nights perfecting every detail. When we presented the final design, the client was thrilled. They approved the project on the spot and requested me specifically for their next development. 6 months later, I was promoted to senior architect. My salary nearly doubled. I could finally afford to move out of that cramped apartment. I found a penthouse unit in a newer building with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. It was twice the size of the place Stephanie and I had shared, and it was entirely mine. Standing in that empty penthouse on move-in day, I felt something I had not felt in years. Pride. Not just in the apartment or the promotion, but in myself. I had taken the worst thing that ever happened to me and turned it into fuel. I had rebuilt from nothing. Around that same time, 18 months after the divorce, I met Amanda. It happened at a coffee shop near my office. I was in line checking emails on my phone when someone bumped into me from behind. Hot coffee splashed across my shirt and tie. Oh my God, I am so sorry. I looked up to see a woman with auburn hair pulled back in a ponytail, her face bright red with embarrassment. She was holding an empty cup of coffee dripping from her hand. It is okay, I said, dabbing at my shirt with a napkin. The stain was bad, but her mortified expression made me smile. Accidents happen. Let me buy you another coffee. And pay for dry cleaning. I am such a disaster today. She was talking fast, nervous. Really, it is fine. I have extra shirts at the office. At least let me buy you a coffee. Please. I will feel terrible all day if you do not let me make this right. There was something genuine about her. No pretense, no game playing, just honest regret over spilling coffee on a stranger. All right, I said. Coffee sounds good. Her name was Amanda. She was 29, taught 3rd grade at an elementary school in Beaverton. We ended up talking for over an hour long past when I should have been back at work. She was easy to talk to, the kind of person who actually listened when you spoke, instead of just waiting for her turn to talk. We discovered we both loved hiking, though she preferred easier trails than I did. We both read constantly, mostly fiction for her, and architecture books for me. We both had a weakness for old black and white movies, the kind you had to actively search for on streaming services. Before we left the coffee shop, I asked for her number. She smiled. And it was the first time in 2 years that I felt genuinely excited about something unrelated to work. Our first real date was a walk through Forest Park. We hiked for 4 hours, barely noticing the time passing. Amanda told me about her students, the funny things 8-year-olds say, the challenges of making learning fun. I told her about my work, about rediscovering my passion for design. When I mentioned my divorce, she did not flinch or change the subject. The past shapes us, she said, but it does not define us. You are not your divorce. You are who you choose to be now. I had been to therapy, read self-help books, talked to Marcus for hours. But somehow hearing Amanda say those words made them finally click into place. We dated for 6 months, and they were the easiest 6 months of my life. There was no drama, no games, no wondering where I stood. Amanda was straightforward about her feelings. When she was happy, she told me. When something bothered her, we talked about it. She met Marcus and my other friends, and everyone loved her immediately. Marcus said to me one night after a group dinner, "This is what real love looks like. Hold on to her." I planned to. Amanda was moving into my place in 2 weeks. We had already started combining our belongings, figuring out which furniture to keep where her books would go on my shelves. We talked about traveling to Europe the next summer, maybe getting engaged within the next 2 years. Everything felt natural, unhurried, right. That is when Stephanie called. I stared at her name on my screen for what felt like minutes, but was probably only seconds. Every instinct told me to decline the call, to leave the past where it belonged. But curiosity won. I answered. "Jeffrey, it is me." Her voice sounded different, smaller somehow. "I know I have no right to call, but I really need to talk to you." "What do you want, Stephanie? Can we meet, please? It is important." "I do not think that is a good idea. I would not ask if it was not important. Please, just one coffee. That is all I am asking." Against my better judgment, I agreed. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I just wanted to see what she could possibly have to say after 2 years of silence. We arranged to meet the next day at a neutral coffee shop downtown. I arrived first and got a table near the back. When Stephanie walked in, I barely recognized her. She had always been meticulous about her appearance. Hair-perfect makeup, flawless clothes, expensive and carefully chosen. The woman who sat down across from me looked exhausted. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She had lost weight, but not in a healthy way. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. "What is this about?" She took a breath. Derek left me. I waited. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not sympathy. Just a distant curiosity about where this was going. It happened about 4 months ago. He had been cheating. With someone from his gym. She laughed bitterly. "Ironic, right? I left you for him, and he did the same thing to me." "I am sorry that happened to you," I said, and I meant it. Not because I still cared about her romantically, but because I would not wish that pain on anyone. It gets worse. There was a scandal at work. Derek and I had been seeing each other while we were both in committed relationships. Someone reported it to HR. We both got fired. I lost my job, Jeffrey. The job I left you for. That must have been difficult. I had to sell the house. Our house. I could not afford the mortgage without my salary. I am renting a studio apartment now in Gresham. It is about a quarter of the size of what we had. She was crying now, tears running down her cheeks. I handed her a napkin. Part of me felt bad for her. Part of me remembered being exactly where she was, 2 years ago, alone and devastated. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked gently. She looked up at me and I saw desperation in her eyes. "Because I made the biggest mistake of my life. I threw away the only person who truly loved me. I have spent every day for the past 4 months thinking about what I did to you, to us. I have been going to therapy. I have been working on myself. I understand now what I lost." She reached across the table and grabbed my hand. I did not pull away, but I did not squeeze back either. "I want us to try again, Jeffrey. I know I hurt you. I know I do not deserve another chance. But I have changed. I am not the same person who walked away. I understand now what real love looks like. What loyalty means. What I had with you." I sat there looking at her tear-stained face, her trembling hands holding mine. 2 years ago, this would have been everything I wanted. Stephanie, realizing she made a mistake wanting me back, I would have taken her back in an instant. But that was 2 years ago. That was a different Jeffrey. A Jeffrey who did not know his own worth. "Stephanie," I said carefully, pulling my hand away. "I appreciate you being honest with me. I do. But I have moved on. I have someone new in my life. Someone who values me from the start." Her face changed. Shock first, then hurt, then anger. "What?" "Who her name is Amanda. We have been together for 6 months. 6 months. That is nothing. We were together for 6 years. 6 years, Jeffrey. That has to mean something. It does mean something. It means we had 6 good years before you decided I was not enough for you. You told me I was too comfortable, too safe, too predictable. Remember, I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please, you have to understand I was confused. I did not know what I wanted. And now you do. Now that Derek left you, and you lost your job, and your house, now you suddenly realize I was good enough. I kept my voice calm but firm. Stephanie, you do not want me. You want stability. You want someone to fix your problems. I am not that person anymore. That is not true. I love you. You love the idea of what I represented. Security, reliability. But that is not the same as loving me. Just give me one more chance. Please. I will prove I have changed. I shook my head. You had your chance. You chose to leave. You chose Derek. You chose your career. I am not your backup plan. Her tears turned to anger. So you are just going to throw away everything we had. You think this Amanda really loves you. She will leave you too. Everyone leaves eventually. I stood up. Goodbye, Stephanie. I wish you well, but we are done here. I walked out of the coffee shop and did not look back. That should have been the end of it. But Stephanie did not give up easily. Over the next few weeks, my phone would not stop. Text messages at all hours. Long emails detailing how sorry she was, how much she had changed, how we were meant to be together. I blocked her number, but she would text from different numbers. I blocked those too. Then she started showing up at my office. The first time the receptionist called me to say I had a visitor. I came downstairs and found Stephanie in the lobby. You blocked me, she said, because you would not stop contacting me. I just need you to hear me out. I heard you out. My answer is no. Please, Jeffrey, just one more conversation. Security escorted her out at my request. But she came back 3 days later, and then again the following week. Each time, she was more desperate, more insistent. My coworker started noticing. Marcus offered to talk to her, but I told him I would handle it. The worst incident happened on a Saturday afternoon. Amanda and I were at my place packing up some of her things to move in the following week. There was a knock at the door. I opened it, and there stood Stephanie. How did you get past the front desk? I asked. I told them I was your sister. She pushed past me into the apartment before I could stop her. Amanda came out of the bedroom carrying a box of books. She saw Stephanie and immediately understood who she was. You must be Amanda, Stephanie said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Jeffrey told me about you. And you must be Stephanie, Amanda replied calmly. She set down the box. Jeffrey also told me about you. Did he tell you that he still loves me? That we were together for 6 years? That you are just a rebound? Amanda did not flinch. That is for Jeffrey to decide, not you. I stepped between them. Stephanie, you need to leave. Now. I am not leaving until you admit that what we had was real. That it meant something. It did mean something. Past tense. Now you need to go, or I am calling the police. She finally left, but not before shooting Amanda a look of pure hatred. After she was gone, Amanda turned to me. Is she always like that? She has gotten worse since I told her about you? Amanda took my hand. Jeffrey, I am not worried about her. But you need to make this stop. This is not healthy for anyone. She was right. I had tried being polite, tried being firm, tried ignoring it. Nothing worked. It was time to take real action. The next Monday, I called Stephanie and told her we needed to meet one final time. I asked Marcus to come with me as a witness. We met at the same coffee shop where Stephanie had first asked me to take her back. She arrived looking hopeful, like she thought this meeting meant I was changing my mind. Her face fell when she saw Marcus. Why is he here? Because I want a witness for what I am about to say. I kept my voice even. Stephanie, what we had is over. You ended it 2 years ago. I have built a new life, and I am happy. You need to move on too. But we belong together. No, we do not. We did once, maybe. But not anymore. You need to stop texting, stop calling, stop showing up at my work and my home. If you contact me again, I will file for a restraining order. Do you understand? She stared at me, finally realizing I was serious. You would do that. You would actually get a restraining order against me. If you force me to, yes. Something shifted in her expression. Acceptance, maybe. Or just exhaustion. I was so sure you would take me back. Everyone always said you were too good for me. I thought that meant you would forgive anything. Being a good person does not mean being a doormat, I said. You made your choice 2 years ago. Now I have made mine. She left without another word. And this time, She actually left. No more texts. No more emails. No more surprise visits. It was finally over. A month passed and life returned to normal. Amanda officially moved in. We spent our first weekend together arranging furniture and hanging pictures. She brought warmth into the apartment that it had been missing. Plants on the windowsills, colorful throw pillows, photographs of us together. We took a trip to Hawaii to celebrate. 5 days of beaches and hiking and watching sunsets. One evening, as we sat on the sand watching the sky turn pink and purple, Amanda leaned her head on my shoulder. "Are you happy?" she asked. "More than I have been in years," I said. "Good. Because I plan to keep you that way for a very long time." I kissed her forehead. "I am counting on it." Looking back now, I understand something I did not understand 2 years ago. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the best thing that could have happened. If Stephanie had not left me, I never would have learned to value myself. I never would have discovered who I could become without someone making me feel small. I never would have been ready for Amanda when she spilled coffee on my shirt in that cafe. The divorce taught me what I deserved. It taught me that loyalty and stability and being a good partner are not boring qualities. They are rare and valuable. It taught me that the right person will never make you question whether you are enough, because they will know from the start that you are. I do not hate Stephanie anymore. I do not wish bad things for her. I actually hope she finds whatever she is looking for, whether that is another person or just peace with herself. But that is not my problem to solve anymore. She made her choice, and I made mine. And my choice led me exactly where I needed to be. Sometimes people ask me if I have any regrets about the divorce. The answer is no, not anymore. Because every painful step of that journey led me here. To this apartment with the view of the river. To this career I love. To this woman who sees me for exactly who I am and loves me because of it, not despite it. That is not a story about revenge or getting even. It is a story about getting better. About learning that closing one door, even when someone else slams it in your face, just means you are free to walk through a different one. And sometimes that new door leads somewhere you never imagined you would go. Somewhere better than you ever could have planned. I do not thank Stephanie for leaving, but I thank the experience for teaching me. And I thank myself for having the courage to rebuild when everything felt broken. Because that courage, that decision to keep going even when it hurt, that is what made all the difference. Have you ever had someone from your past try to come back into your life after you had moved on? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments below. I would love to hear how you navigated that situation. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this with anyone who might need to hear that it is okay to choose yourself, that moving forward is not selfish. It is necessary. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that your worth is not determined by who stays or who leaves. It is determined by how you choose to see yourself. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember that the best chapters of your life might be the ones you have not written yet.